Georgie.
Oh, no.
Right, that's how I'm going to introduce it.
No.
I've done it now.
Oh,
Hi, welcome to the Bench Movie Club. I'm Charlie.
and I'm Lily.
And in this week we are talking about It. And
Talking about what?
we're talking about It. And It Chapter 2. And a little bit about the old 1990 series. How you been, Lily?
Oh, I'm fine.
Yeah, how's your
You?
week been?
Yeah. It's
Yeah?
been good.
Has it been yeah?
It's been yeah. No.
Oh, okay. My week's been great, thanks for asking.
How's this relevant?
Right, It from 2017. First one's set in 1989, is it?
I think it's 88.
Well, it starts 88 and then it cuts straight to 89 because you see Georgie die. So based on the old Stephen King novel about a demon being who takes on the form of a clown predominantly, but also other things to scare little kids.
Yeah. I mean, I have no. I mean, and there's like the. How have I forgotten how many kids there are? 7, right, or 8?
I
7.
don't know.
7.
I've only written down a few of the kids, like actors-wise, because otherwise it'll be all day. There's quite a few kids in it. Plenty to get killed.
I think it. I'm gonna be annoyed myself if it's not 7, but I think it is 7.
Yeah. Well, you got Bill, Richie, Beverly, Eddie, Stanley,
And Mike.
Yeah.
Ben. Oh yeah, Ben as well.
Directed by Andy Muschietti, who also directed Mama and The Flash, which Mama.
I don't.
Ooh. It was okay. I remember it being quite scary. I could see how he got the job on this from Mama, and then he got the job on The Flash from this, and The Flash wasn't well received. It was okay. It was an average superhero film, but unfortunately that had all the stigma of the main actor.
Oh right, yeah.
Ezra Miller.
Yes.
Yeah, donut. How can you not remember Ezra Miller?
I should know this.
Why should you know it?
Well, because I've had to study.
You're his biggest fan.
I'm your number one fan.
I'm not his biggest fan. I had to study. We need to talk about Kevin, and he's in that. So I should know it was Ezra Miller.
Yeah, and also Perks of Being a Wallflower, which you like.
I do like that film.
But he's not in It from 2017 or It Chapter 2 from 2019, which stars Bill Skarsgård, who's in Barbarian, The Crow, and Boy Kills World. He's the brother of Alexander Skarsgård and the son of Stellan Skarsgård. He's actually got quite a few brothers who are all actors and stuff. But although he's 6'3", he's actually the shortest of the Skarsgård brothers.
Oh wow!
Thank you.
Tall family.
Yeah. You got Jaden Martell plays Bill. He was in Knives Out and St. Vincent. Finn Wolfhard plays Richie, who's from Stranger Things. He plays Mike, and in Ghostbusters he plays Trevor McDonald.
Yeah.
Sophia Lillis plays Beverly, who went on to star in Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, which I thought was actually quite good.
Yeah, I've seen that film.
I thought it was quite enjoyable.
Yeah, good watch.
And I'm Not Okay With This.
That's
played Sydney.
Not film, series.
Series.
I'm messing up so much right now. I love that series as well.
Do you want to get paid?
I do want to get.
Come on, back in the room. Right. Why? Well, tell us about I'm Not Okay With This, because you really like that series, didn't you? It was only one season.
Yes, which I'm very upset about because I mean I've read the comics and there was still a bit more they could have done. I mean I get why they didn't pursue it in a sense. Spoiler for I'm Not Okay With This, because Sydney, who's played by Sophia Lillis, would have ended up killing herself in the second season.
Well, it's not really a spoiler because the second season never happened.
No,
it's a spoiler for the comic.
Yeah. I'm saying that, I mean, I get why they didn't do that, but then if they changed it for the second season and like she didn't kill herself, I feel like it wouldn't be staying true to the original.
Yeah, I'm Not Okay With This, which she starred in alongside Wyatt Oleff, who's also in this, plays Stanley, and he was also young Peter Quill in the Guardians of the Galaxy.
He was also Stanley in I'm Not Okay With This.
And Stanley, and he's also Stanley in that song about Santa going to kill people.
He is.
Yeah. Santa's coming for us. Hide.
That's not what it is.
It is. It's called Santa's coming for us. Brackets. You'd better hide.
No, it's Santa's Coming for Us by
Baby.
Sia.
But you was a big fan of his as well.
Yes, I think he's an excellent actor.
And you spoke to him as well.
Yeah, I have. I've met him. Well, through a screen.
I can't actually believe I'm talking to you.
Maybe you're not. Maybe I'm not real. That's also a possibility.
Definitely a possibility.
Definitely huge. Do you have any questions?
I do. Do you have any tips on how to get into acting? I know that's quite a basic question, but just
great question. No, I don't. Okay, I would just say if you have any local stuff that you can audition for or anything, like any way you can put yourself into the film industry is good. So if there's any kind of like, productions that maybe classmates are working on or peers or whatever, if you can help out in any way, maybe you can get closer to the creative process. Maybe you come up with short films of your own, put them on a YouTube page, create a portfolio, or maybe you start doing auditions, maybe you get an agent. There's a lot of different ways in, and I would say the biggest thing to keep in mind is to not give up, because it is a very hard industry. You hear a lot of no's. It sucks, but you will persevere if you have that patience and if you have that dedication. So
yeah,
best of luck in that.
Thank you. I also just want to say I've been a fan of you for like over a year, so it's just a big relief to meet you.
Oh, so nice to meet you.
How old was you then? 14?
Yeah, about 14. I wasn't 15 yet, so.
And you was 10 when this film came out?
Yes, I was.
And 12 when the sequel came out. So how did you watch them?
What do you mean, how did I watch them?
You was too young.
You got me to watch them.
I got you to watch them. I made you watch them, did I? Yeah, or did you ask to watch them and I said, okay, you can watch them because they're okay to watch?
Probably the latter.
Yeah. Like I've forced my child to watch horror films. I've always shown you horror films because you wanted to watch them.
What, like Demons 2?
Yeah, Demons 2. And you said you didn't like it because you were scared, so I turned it off. You've also got Jack Dylan Grazer.
Yeah.
Plays Eddie. He was in Shazam. He plays Freddy. And he done a voice in Luca. He was Alberto in Luca.
Yes.
Obviously, the film is based on Stephen King.
Stephen King. Why is it with your brain today as well?
No, it's because you were talking about Stanley. Stephen King's novel. Thankfully, they changed a few bits in it. There's a bit like a child orgy or something like that.
There is. I know I've read most of the book. And
he's weird.
I mean, he wrote most of his books on drugs. So.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, that I might be wrong on that fact. I might have fact checked, but yeah, he.
Well, you should have fact checked it before.
I should have fact checked it, but no, Stephen King
takes drugs.
Well, he took drugs when he wrote a lot of his books, which would explain a lot of his themes. Yeah,
I mean, he does great stories. He does, he's the king. If someone said name a horror writer, the first one to come to anyone's mind would be Stephen King.
Yeah, if it didn't, then they're being pretentious.
Yeah,
no, I'm sorry.
But yeah, so this film, I remember the original series, which was flawed, but I actually quite like these films. I thought they was well made. It's a hard novel to adapt.
Yeah.
And there's always the thing I find with both interpretations, is that the second half isn't as scary as the first half.
No.
Because I think the terror, in fact, you're a kid and no one will believe you on these things, and you're a lot weaker, and it's easier to scare children. Whereas as an adult, you're like, look at this clown jumping. I mean, obviously there was that phase of killer clowns.
Yeah, that came out after these films.
Did it?
It came about because of these films. I remember when it was quite an issue.
I'm not sure. I thought it was like 2016.
No, I think it was about 2017.
I'll have to look it up. The killer clown phenomenon, but that was just. I can't even remember what that was now.
Well, people were just going around dressed up as scary clowns and
scaring people.
Yeah, I don't think anyone died from it, but I might be wrong.
Because, I think a few clowns got beaten up.
Yeah, I was too young to remember most of that anyway.
Yeah, but clowns are quite a scary thing for some people anyway.
Yeah, I don't know why that is. Do you think it's because of like the It franchise?
No, it's long, but predates It. Fear of clowns is quite an old fear. It's been going over for since clowns existed, probably. just got to think of this freaky person just smiling, kind of told you think, what's wrong with you? Go away. It's quite scary to some people. I was never scared of clowns.
I think I went through a bit of a phase where I was like, oh, clowns are creepy, but I don't think I was ever scared.
Well, clowns are creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no escaping clowns are creepy. There was also that attack from the attack of the killer clowns from outer space. Do you remember that film?
Oh, yeah, Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
And it had fantastic sort of
That
makeup.
was-
This right over the top sort of garish sort of clown makeup.
Well, they made a video game out of it.
There was a famous American serial killer
Oh,
who dressed up as a clown.
yeah, was that
Wayne?
Wayne? Yeah,
Gacy?
Wayne Gacy. Yeah,
Yeah. But I don't think
that's
why he was scary. I think he was scary because he killed people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But so tell us about this film. What's the story?
the story. Which part? Chapter 1 or Chapter 2?
Chapter 1, first of all.
Well, it follows 7 kids. It's 7, right?
7.
Okay.
7.
7 kids. Who, I mean, they're all kind of bullied in some way. They all have something that makes them different, which back in the 80s, that made you easy pickings, I guess.
Well, some people
So-
say make it easy pickings now, but I don't think as much. I think now if you pick on someone for anything, whether it's their weight, sexuality, race, whatever, you'll have more people defending you rather than chipping
Which is
him.
good.
Which is good.
It's good. No, because it's like, it's very cruel that happened.
Yeah. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
as fun. But
You're such a
I'm
bully.
joking. No, yeah, I've never been a bully.
No.
I've never bullied anyone. I don't like bullies.
No.
But you should be able to sort of, your friends, make fun of your friends
Yeah.
for various things, which they do in this. They make fun of each other, don't they?
Yeah, of course they do. I mean, but no, the story follows the 7 kids, and they're all attacked by Pennywise in some way, like as in like followed, but they all friends, and they end up somewhat defeating him at the end. I say somewhat because obviously he gets banished into the depths of the sewer, and obviously he comes back 20 years later.
And then it goes into It Chapter 2,
Yes.
which stars James McAvoy, is now the grown-up Bill. He's in loads of things like Atonement, Glass, Victor Frankenstein. He seems to do quite a few horrors, James McAvoy.
Yeah.
Because obviously he's done Split, and there's Speak No Evil, which is out at the moment, which he's really good in. And Glass, obviously, and Victor Frankenstein's a bit of a horror.
Yeah.
You got Bill Hader from Skeleton Twins, Trainwreck, Inside Out, and Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, I mean, he obviously wasn't in the second Inside Out.
Wasn't he?
No. It was a different actor who played... 2 of the actors were replaced when they did Inside
Why?
Out, too. Because it was a payment dispute. They weren't being paid as well. The second film.
I had no idea.
Yeah, because obviously, who was it who was in Inside Out 1 who played Disgust?
Yes, is she the one who made the Scooby-Doo?
Yeah, the new Velma,
The Velma
series, which
series.
had horrible backlash.
Yeah, so she's not in
She's not in
Inside
it,
Out 2 either.
and so is Bill Hader's not in it either. He got replaced by the guy who plays Forky in Toy Story 4.
Oh, okay, yeah. He's out of Arrested Development.
Yes, he
Can't
got
remember his
replaced. Yeah, he got replaced by him in Inside Out 2. Not
Yeah,
that this is
yeah,
relevant to this.
His hand had got bitten off in Arrested Development.
Yes.
Yeah. And you've got Jessica Chastain, plays the grown-up Beverly. She's in Zero Dark 30, The Help, and Interstellar. So what happens in part 2 then?
Well, part 2, they all come back together. I mean, apart from one of them doesn't come back with the others, which is Stanley, because he kills himself before. Because obviously he doesn't. They all get called back for like a similar reason, like it's back, you know. But obviously Stanley can't take it, and he ends up killing himself. Which I always found especially sad, considering Stanley was my favourite character when I originally watched these films.
Yeah.
So I was always a bit upset about that bit. But no, they all come back, and they basically just retread the town of Derry,
and
just look around where they grew up, pretty much.
Yeah, revisit, and then finally get together again to
Defeat Pennywise
again. Which I think is the weakness of part 2. You know, it does a great job.
Yeah.
And I actually prefer watching the adult actors rather than the kid actors, because
Really?
the kid actors are fine, but I do find something a bit with watching children is always a little bit cringy for me. I think I just think of. I know it's wrong, but I always think about, especially American young actors being pushed into doing things.
Yeah,
I know
but
there's a bit of an ambition there for them. They really want to be a great actor and stuff, but you can't help but think about their parents sitting there on the sideline counting the money, thinking, "Oh, he's
well, it's not always the case, but
no."
obviously, if they're successful, that might end up being an afterthought. But I don't know. I think that the actors, the child actors in this, I would say they're better than most child actors I've seen in a lot of films recently.
Yeah, no,
There's
I
a-
think they are. Yeah,
I think they're really excellent actors, like in their own right. Because I mean, like for example, when we watched the new Salem's Lot, the child actors in that, I couldn't help but find that more cringeworthy because it just seemed like they were kind of. It did seem like they were just reading off a script and they didn't really embody the characters that well. But I think that's more of a dialogue issue.
So it's interesting because I was going to bring up Salem's Lot anyway because it's the other It product, which was originally a 2-part TV series and then turned into a more recent updated film version.
Yes.
I have written briefly on the new Salem's Lot. I actually quite liked the aesthetic of it. I thought it looked brilliant.
Yeah.
Some of the effects look great.
The cinematography was excellent in the film.
Barlow didn't look too bad. He didn't look as scary as the original one from the 70s, but it's hard to beat because I think Barlow in the 70s one is probably the most frightening vampire in cinema. But the one they've done, you can see he looks very similar because in the novel, apparently he's not meant to be like that.
No.
He's meant to look more charming and more sort of like seductive. But I like them making him more like the original Nosferatu.
Yes.
And the actors in it, I know some of those actors from other projects, and I know they're good actors. So I think put it down to the dialogue.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. But I think that still the child actors in that, I think because partnered with the bad dialogue and obviously being inexperienced in filmmaking, probably. As far as I'm aware, I haven't seen their I was about to say discography. No, I haven't seen their filmography. So I mean, they might be actually excellent actors, but I think the dialogue really let that film down.
Yeah, I don't think the child actors were as good as, say, the child actors in this. But the other thing with that Salem's Lot, which wasn't so prevalent when it was being made, was it got through. I don't know if it was halfway through production when they announced it's going to go straight to streaming.
Did it? Wait, Salem's Lot didn't go into.
It went into the cinema as well, but it was going straight to Apple TV. Now the problem with that is obviously then, as much as effort as people do put into TV productions, it's still, you think, well, it's not going to be. Is it a proper film? I mean, it is, but it's just weird. It's one of those things. You feel as if a movie should be shown on the big screen first, and then you have to wait before it comes on TV.
Yeah, but I mean that came about more like the straight streaming after COVID.
Yeah, and I don't think it's got some quite bad reviews, like Salem's Lot on IMDb and such. But I don't think it's that bad. Now I'd say it's. I mean, so many similarities between that and it, as in the sense that the original It TV series and the original Salem's Lot TV series, the production value was really poor.
Yes.
Being a TV miniseries. And the new ones are so aesthetically pleasing. They look so good.
Yeah.
Although the CGI has dated.
Yes, the CGI in it has dated, but I think the acting kind of saves it. Like I'd say that also the new Salem's Lot's more aesthetically pleasing than this.
And another thing I'd say, another similarity between it and Salem's Lot is the villain, who both times I think the original villain is slightly more scary than the updated version.
Yeah.
Now, whether that's me as an adult, I don't know, but I've looked back on them, and comparatively, when you look at Barlow from the old Salem's Lot and the new Barlow, I think the old one's creepier, and the old one relies on practical makeup.
Right.
Whereas the new one, you see a bit more CGI. With Pennywise, you had Tim Curry in practical effects makeup, which I find a lot scarier than Bill Skarsgård.
I mean, he did have practical effects makeup on him, Bill Skarsgård.
Obviously, but I'm saying, like, then when his mouth goes like, that opens wide and there's like a million teeth there and stuff, that doesn't seem scary to me. That seems fantastical.
Yeah, I get that, but
See, like when you look at the death of Georgie, for example, in the first one, or in the 1990 miniseries, Tim Curry, how he plays it, he's trying to be genuinely friendly and enticing him. He's like, "Oh, come on, Georgie," blah, blah, blah. And you think you can believe that the child would sit there and go, "Oh, okay, he's a clown,
friendly.
but he's friendly. He's in the sewer." And you're like, "Well, no, we know each other. Come on." And so then when he suddenly turns and goes, "Oh, you're flawed," it seems more
That's
unsettling.
more scary, yeah.
Yeah, and then when he pulls him in, his mouth's open wide, a normal amount with like sharp razor teeth. It seems more believable. Whereas this one, the whole time he's just like, "What do you eat?" You think no child on earth would sit there and indulge that. They'd go like, "Oh,
Well, child
freak."
his age would be more scared.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be running for the hills. What's scary is when he reels him in. So it's even like there's a tiny little clip from the original miniseries where it's got this little girl, and she's, I think it's the first death you see. It might be before even Georgie getting killed, and all he does, he goes, "Hey," like that, and he's all smiling. She's like, "Oh," she thinks, "Oh, that was funny." And then next time she looks at him, he's just staring like that. That is scary because you think, "Oh God, he's suddenly changed."
Yeah.
Whereas there's sort of almost no change. He goes, and then also he'll sort of do his eye thing, which I can't do. Make his eye, one eye go, and then go, "Ah." And I don't know.
It wasn't. I get what you're saying with that. I think I do agree that Tim Curry's Pennywise was definitely scarier because that's almost like it feels more realistic in a sense. Whereas this, it kind of seems like how are you falling for this?
Yeah, and some people have argued that it's because the Bill Skarsgård one is more how Pennywise would be because he's like this interdimensional being. He's not trying to pretend to be human. But that's true. But I still think performance-wise, Tim Curry's one is a scarier performance.
Yeah, but I mean, Pennywise is meant to have been around for ages. I mean, anything can learn habits. And there's absolutely no way that for years and years he would have been able to entice kids like that. Like there's absolutely no way that's possible.
Sounds like an old woman a bit as well. But I mean, listen, the thing is, I do think he's still great in it.
Yeah, definitely.
It was just hard to sort of live up to Tim Curry's one. The one thing he had in his favour, though, was apart from Tim Curry, these ones beat the original miniseries hands down because the production value is so much better. They are scarier in general.
Yeah.
But it's just the actual clown himself. Because the original 1990 miniseries, you had Richard Thomas, who's from the Waltons, played Bill, adult Bill. Richard Masur, who's in The Thing, he plays Stanley, adult Stanley. John Ritter, the late John Ritter, who's in Bad Santa, played Ben. You also had Jonathan Brandis, who was in Sequest DSV. He was a young child actor for a while. He played the young Bill. He died of suicide, hanging in 2003, aged 27. It's very sad.
Yeah.
You also had Seth Green, from Family Guy.
Who's Seth Green in the original?
He plays Richie. He plays the young Richie.
Does he? I did not know that. That's crazy.
Yeah. And he was, of course, in Austin Powers Robot Chicken. And, of course, you got Tim Curry.
Yes.
Who's... Everything he does, he's
excellent.
Scary as well.
Yeah.
When he does scary, like he's actually lost work because he's too scary. Like he was nearly Judge Doom in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but they said he was too scary.
I wish that he had been in
Who
Framed Roger Rabbit. That would have made that film so much more like scary.
He voiced the Joker in the original Batman TV series. I think he recorded about 6 episodes, and that's when they decided he's too scary for a kids' cartoon.
Yeah.
And considering that series was actually trying to go for a darker tone, that's saying something. So they got Mark Hamill in, who then made the role his own. But you still think, what if? Because he had so many great roles, could have gone his way, and it's almost like he's a little bit too scary for it.
I feel like Tim Curry, he's just very underappreciated. Like, at least in the modern sphere.
Well, I suppose, I mean, he should be more well known. I think people who know him appreciate him. He's always a highlight in any film that he's in. He's in 100 bad films, but he sort of, when he's on the screen, you're not bored, you like him. And I'll give you a good example of why I think he's scarier than the Bill Skarsgård one. There's 2 anecdotes basically it's one with Bill Skarsgård talking about his first scene he was doing next to that Jack
Dylan Grazer.
Yeah.
And the scene, I walk out and I approach him, and it's a really intense scene, and I'm sort of right in his face, and I'm drooling all over him, and he's crying, and we sort of block it briefly without doing really emotion into it. And then they yell action, and I do it. And I'm doing this clown thing, and I'm screaming, and I'm like, because part of Pennywise is that he hates the kids, and it's so much anger. And
most clowns do, yeah.
That's... and then I approach him, and I scream in his face, and we're doing the scene, and he's crying and gagging and doing this whole thing. And I'm like, back at the back of my head, as we're shooting it, I'm like, oh my God, I'm traumatizing this child.
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing? You know? And then they say, you know, they yell cut, and I go, like, oh, are you okay, Jack? He goes, love what you're doing. I love what you're doing with the character. I love what you're doing with the character.
I go back to the 1991, and I see in an interview with Tim Curry where he's saying about...
It all starts with this little boy, Georgie, who's got one of those paper boats which he is floating in the gutter, and he runs after it, and this clown face appears, and I have to be very mean to him. Come on down, Georgie, down here, we float. And he stopped and sort of stared at me for a minute and said, Mr. Curry, you're scaring me.
Gee, I'm so sorry, but that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And you're supposed to be scared.
You think this child has been in therapy for years since?
I hope so.
I think that is partly due to nowadays children are more desensitized to horror.
I don't think they are. I don't think that's the case, personally, because, you know, when I was a kid, I was desensitized to horror. And there was many kids who were, and kids were exposed to so much more stuff in a way when they were, you know, back in the 80s and 70s. Whereas now there is so many sort of parental guidelines. You look at modern versions of things compared to like kids' versions of stuff.
I don't know. I still think that generally speaking, kids nowadays would be more desensitized, but that might be just a difference in opinion.
No, I think kids from my area would batter the kids from your era.
Okay, well.
They would.
All right.
But it just makes sense because, as I said, for me personally, it was even like the PG, like the kids' films from the 80s. Look, we've got Goonies up there. Okay, Goonies, you might think, well, that's not a great example. Goonies has loads of swearing, there's killing in it and stuff like that. And not once did anyone turn around and go, oh, that's a bit inappropriate for children. I don't think Goonies would get through to the cinema unscathed like it did back then. I think they'd make loads of edits. They'd say, do the children have to swear as much? You know, do we have to make that grotesque monsters a little bit scary? You know, and that's the most kid-friendly film you could think of from the 80s. And yet, compared to modern day...
I guess. I don't know.
But aside from that, I do think this is the superior version. I think this is the music's great in it. Some of the scares get a little bit repetitive. Yeah.
I think that they rely on shadows too much, which I get makes sense for Pennywise's character, because obviously he lives in the sewers and that's a shadowy place. But I mean, I think that they rely on the jump scares coming out of the shadows so that when you actually see it, you can see it coming after a while. I mean, there's very few moments in this that could actually jump scare me if I was to watch it completely blind.
And I think that's down to the timing of the scare. It's like horror, good horror is like good comedy. It's all about the timing. It's about, you could do the exact same scenario handed to a different director and not work as well. But there are some genuinely scary moments in both the films. I remember what stands out to me, I think in the second one where it's got the girl underneath the bleachers. Do you remember, like, and she's got the mark, the birthmark on her face.
Yes, I remember that,
and it says he can take it away from her. And she's sort of putting her face towards anything. That poor girl. That's more of like, but I guess it's scary, but it's more heartbreaking. Because you feel so sorry for that poor girl.
And the family.
Whereas some of the other kids, you know, you're scared for them. Like the main kids in the first one, you're scared for them, but I don't feel as much sympathy for him, say even as much as Georgie.
Really?
Because it maybe the way he's younger, and he just seems like a fun little kid running along, and his arm getting bitten off, and him actually getting killed.
Yeah.
Just seems more upsetting.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, no, that is upsetting.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I don't know, like, just killing children, which Stephen King seems to love doing in his
books, not in real life.
Yeah, I know that in his books and
Yeah.
like the films that come out of it. It's just obviously a lot of children dying, which would seem quite taboo. But I think
you made another observation about what was it? The noise making.
Yeah, I mean, in both. Again, I don't know if it's the same with the old Salem's Lot. So this is just going based off of the new one. In both the new Salem's Lot and this one, two of the characters, yeah, and they, Eddie and I don't remember is it Ralphie in Salem's Lot?
Yeah.
They're both making sounds to kind of make themselves not as scared.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I think, I don't know. I don't know if that's the same as in the books though. I haven't read the books, so
no. But maybe if it is, it's something that Stephen King was told himself when he was a child.
Yeah. Oh, also I've read half of the first year. Sorry,
you don't remember that. I suppose it's a small detail you weren't really.
Yeah, I didn't get through it because it's a massive book.
I thought the casting was great in both these films, and especially considering you have to do adult versions of the kids.
Yeah.
James McAvoy, he could pass as an older version of Bill. I
think the best casting though was with
Ben.
Well, no, I was gonna say with Richie and
really?
Bill Skarsgård.
Finn
Wolfhard and
Bill Hader.
Yes, sorry, that's why I got confused. I love Bill Hader as an actor; he's really great. But
yeah, I do. But I think I was thinking this just now when I was watching the first one. You got Ben, the little fat boy, and then when he comes back as an adult, and obviously he's lost the weight, but now he's good and he's supposed to be all attractive and all stuff, and he's grown into himself. I can believe that's him because there's something about the eyes. When you look at the eyes and look at his face, he does look like he could pass as an older version of him.
But I mean, I'd say the same thing with Finn Wolfhard and Bill Hader. Like you could the way that their faces are composed. Like at least the young Finn Wolfhard is quite square.
Yeah.
And so then when it's the age,
square is. Yeah, I think that. Yeah,
I think they've done pretty good casting for both of them.
Yeah, I think every young actor in it looks like, or every adult in the part 2 looks like they could have looked like the children in the first one. I'm pretty sure the years in this is different as well, obviously, because this one I think part 1's in the 80s, isn't it? Late 80s.
Yeah.
And part 2 is at the end of the teenies, 20 teens.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Whereas the original one, I think they was in the 50s and then came back to the early 90s.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. I'm assuming that's what the original novel is. But at the time, obviously, they're cashing in on the 80s aesthetic.
Yeah.
Because at the time, especially thanks to things like Stranger Things, everything was 80s.
Yeah, 80s was big a few years ago. I mean, I'd say now it's more 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah,
at least fashion is.
Yeah, I do find that actually. It's funny because when 80s was going back just like a few years, and me and Ben was talking about how big the 80s suddenly got again. I mean, this part of my wall behind me is predominantly 80s pop culture. And you was quite into the 80s
but that was because of the fact I was so into Stranger Things and it, like.
But it was good, and it was like, for me as a child of the 80s, I was loving it. I was like, oh great, everyone's sort of rediscovering. And I remember us saying, I can't imagine the 90s being that popular though, but I'm now seeing things where it's sort of creeping out of the 80s, and then it's the 90s culture's now being rediscovered.
90s culture is very big at the moment. Like I'd say, God, the amount of girls at my college that are dressed in like Juicy Couture tracksuits. Like the
90s?
Yeah, like or / early 2000s. This is what I'm saying. Like it's big from the late 90s and early 2000s, but there's a lot of like proper 90s stuff. Like I don't know if this was 90s actually. But, the big brown belt, like the gold buckling and the. Like,
I wouldn't have worn them, so I wouldn't have known.
But no, I mean at least among girls at my college, I'd say. Generally, and when the 80s was about, I'd say that girls were the ones that kind of did the 80s fashion more than boys a few years ago.
Yeah, I can believe that. I think girls in general tend to set fashion trends anyway.
Yeah.
I think, girls for the past, 70, 80 years, popular music and fashion has always been dictated by teenage girls.
Yeah, of course.
Because whatever the teenage girls love, that's what's at number one in the charts. They're the ones who would go streaming mad at the concerts. They're the ones who would sit outside getting tickets for the Beatles or One Direction or whatever. They're the ones who'd send them to number one. And there'd be other people who might be sitting back and go, well, you don't like this, you don't like that. Doesn't matter, because they were the loudest voice. And it's always the loudest group who gets their say. And, you can't argue it. And the same with fashion. Girls are more likely, teenage girls care about how they look more so than teenage boys. Obviously, you get a lot more teenage boys nowadays caring about how they look.
Which is good.
When I was a teenager, I couldn't care less. I'd go out, my hair was all over the place. Now I can't find it. But it was literally just, I'd chuck something on and someone would have to tell me, go, your buttons ain't lined up. You go, oh, does it matter?
Yeah.
I wouldn't care.
Whereas nowadays, I'd say men's fashion's more.
Yeah, you got loads of those metrosexual sort of, they need to look really good and they spend ages doing their hair and stuff like that, which is great. You should take pride in your appearance. Did you know Pennywise has only 4 minutes dialogue in the entire film?
I can believe that.
Yeah. Ooh. So I'll do the next one in his voice. Sophia Lillis says
that just sounds, just say normally. Yeah.
Sophia Lillis says that she had to stand on a box in some scenes, as at only 5 feet tall, she is the shortest of the cast.
That's quite funny, because obviously she's she's meant to be taller than the boys. So
the teeth prosthetics that Bill Skarsgård wore as Pennywise made him draw profusely, so they added it into the character.
Yeah.
Jackson Robert Scott, Georgie, is the youngest in the movie and stated that he wasn't as scared of Pennywise as he thought he would be. He said he actually had a fun time doing his scenes and that Bill Skarsgård was always joking around. A deleted scene on the Blu-ray reveals that Henry Bowers killed the remaining members of his gang after murdering his father, explaining why they are not present when he confronts the Losers Club in the climax.
Oh.
In the novel, It murders his entire gang.
Right.
There's a gag alternate opening that involves Georgie and Pennywise in a hilarious what-if scenario.
What a nice boat. Do you want it back?
Yes, please.
Here. Take it.
Thanks. See you later. Bye.
Shit.
Though the film has left out some things from the novel, there are things that occurred in the film that never happened in the novel. This includes the presence of the cat when Georgie encounters Pennywise and it witnessing Georgie's murder. I mean, why would he put that in the novel anyway?
It's totally made up.
The amount of leaves on the tree in the scene.
Whiskers the kitten watching Georgie die.
Yeah. Bill searching vigorously for Georgie for almost a year.
Pure fiction.
Stan's encounter with Judith, the flute lady, after struggling in his bar mitzvah rehearsal.
We made it up.
The fight between Bill and Richie.
We made this one up.
The brief separation period of the Losers Club, except for Bill and Beverly.
It's a made-up tale.
Stan's bar mitzvah.
It's a total fabrication.
Beverly killing her father in self-defense.
Does she do that in the film?
Well, it says Beverly presumably killing her father in self-defense.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
This one was invented by a writer.
Pennywise abducting Beverly.
It never happened.
Mike pushing Henry Bowers down the well in self-defense.
Yeah.
It's false.
The whole sequence of Beverly waking up in the sewers, Pennywise performing his bizarre Bob Gray dance for her, her attempting to escape, and Pennywise putting her in a trance and making her float by exposing her to the deadlights.
It's an urban legend that never happened.
Pennywise taking Bill hostage and offering a deal to the losers to spare them by keeping him.
It never happened.
And in a deleted scene that was filmed, Pennywise is terrorising a pilgrim and ended up devouring her baby in the 17th century.
Not this time. It never happened.
What? I don't know. But these, I think this is still a great film.
Oh, yeah, it's a great film. Not despite them, you know.
No, it's...
I mean, they are good films, and they, I've watched them a number of times, and I will watch them again. It's a bit of a chore because of the length.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. The second one's 2 hours 54.
Is it?
I think so. I might be wrong.
163 minutes. 2 hours 43.
Okay, yeah, so a bit
2.5
less.
hours. Just say 2.5 hours.
Oh no, it's
Is it? How long's the second one?
about 2 hours 43.
About 2 hours 43, give or take. About 2.5 hours, the second one. Yeah, but I suppose the thing is, people binge watch TV series. And
Yeah.
if this was broken down to like a 4-part TV series or 5-part TV series, you'd go, oh, I could watch that.
Yeah.
I'll watch it on a Sunday or whatever, get through it.
But if it's a film, people decide it's more of a chore in a sense.
Yeah.
I think it's because of people's attention spans are a lot less than they used to be.
Yeah. Huh?
You agree?
I wasn't paying attention.
Oh, okay.
Bill Hader was unaware that Bill Skarsgård can actually move his eyes in 2 different directions. And Hader asked Skarsgård what kind of editing was done to achieve the effect in the first movie. Skarsgård, in full costume and makeup, responded by saying, "Oh, you mean this?" and showed him how he can do it naturally, startling Hader. Yeah, it's a great little trick, and it's good that he's used it for that film. So, on IMDb, It Chapter 1 got 7.3.
Which I can believe.
Yeah, that's a decent rating. And Chapter 2 got 6.5.
Really?
Which
That's
I can
quite
believe.
no, but that's quite low.
I think that's probably sounds about right because, as I said, the second one, it's not as scary. And especially like with the original TV series, Tim Curry notoriously said that he didn't like how it ended, where it turned into a big spider and all this stuff. And it does just become more of a fantastical like kids adventure. The original TV series got 6.8.
That's also quite low, but I get why.
It's like loads of the worst. Like if you see someone had made like a parody of what a series would look like from late 80s, early 90s, you'd believe that's the kind of effects they'd use.
Right.
It was weird music and stuff. It Chapter 1 it's got 85% by the critics on Rotten Tomatoes and 84% by the audience.
That's very close.
Very high though.
Yeah, it is high, but I'm saying it's very close, like ratings, which there's normally more of a discrepancy between.
Well, Part 2 has 62% by the critics and 78% by the audience.
Yeah.
So again, it's a bit of a steep drop. The budget for It Chapter 1 was $35 to $40 million, which isn't actually that high.
That's a lot. That's a lot lower than I thought it was.
And it went on to make $704.2 million in the box office.
That's
which is fantastic. Now the budget for the sequel, $79 million.
So a lot higher than you.
Now I'm going to assume that's because of the actors. Because a few relatively high-profile actors and adults would almost always get paid more than children anyway.
Yeah. And how much did it make?
And the box office, it made $473 million.
So
not as much as the first one, but it's still a big success, really. You paid $79 million for something and made $473 million, even if you include all the budget for the promotions and stuff like that. It's a good return. So it was a successful film.
Yeah.
That's the end of all our Halloween picked movies. But look out for on Halloween, we've got the top 10 Alfred Hitchcock films, which me and my friend Mike have decided. Well, we've both picked a top 10 Hitchcock film list and we're going up against each other to see how close they compete.
Thanks for watching.
Thank you. Goodbye.
You've just...
What?
I don't know. It's not a very good impression.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Brilliant impression.
Anyway.
Oh, that's mean. Why were you so mean to me? Stop moving. Your jacket's making noise. Stop moving.
What's wrong with you?
Dodgy.
Okay. Thank you for watching.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye. Like, subscribe, share, comment. Bye-bye.